Welcome to Lingua Latina Tutorials with Mr. K. Pensum D. In this video, I'll explain the new grammar and syntax found in Chapter 48 of Hans Orberg's Lingua Latina per se lustrata, pars altera, Roma aeterna. Let's get right into the text. In this chapter, we are reading about the Second Punic War, Bellum Punicum Secundum, and we're reading from Titus Livius's Ab Urbe Condita, from the founding of the city, a history of Rome, and we're reading from books 21 to 30. So the first new grammar concept in this chapter we'll find in line 12, where we have Fama est etiam Hannibalem anorum ferme novem pueriliter blandientem patri Hamilcari ut duceretur in Hispaniam, etc. I'll stop there. So here we have fama est. In the margin you see that means the same as it is told, or it is said. And so this fama est, this phrase, calls for indirect speech. So we have fama est, it is told, or it is reported, or there's a story that. There's also a story that Hannibal, in the accusative, our accusative plus infinitive, when he was barely 9 years old, childishly flattering his father Hamilcar so that he could be taken with him to Spain on an expedition when so Hamilcar was going to war in Spain and Hannibal wanted to go along with him. So the new grammar construction fama est takes indirect speech just like dicit or narat, and that's why we have accusative Hannibal with the infinitive construction. Okay, the next new feature is in line 17. And actually we'll go back and finish this phrase because that's part of it. So when, after the war in Africa was finished, when he was making a sacrifice, about to lead his army over there, meaning to Spain, and this is ad motum is referring to Hannibal. Hannibal moved with the altar, having been moved up to touch the altars, the sacred altars. Hannibal was forced to swear an oath. And this is the oath, an indirect speech as well. He was forced to swear an oath that he, as soon as he was able, cum primum posset, as soon as he was able, that he would be fore, an enemy to the Roman people. So what construction do we have here with fore? Fore is just a contracted form of futurum esse, and it's an indirect speech. After he was forced to swear an oath, he was forced to swear that, and then we have that he would be, futurum esse, the future active infinitive contracted as fore. Okay, let's look at the next feature, which is in line 48. Okay, and here we have itaque haud facile discernere utrum imperatori an exercitui carioreset. So not at all easily would you or could you have decided discernere whether he was more dear to the general or to the army. So here we have discernere. What are the person, number, tense, voice, and mood of discernere? Well, we have a second person singular, imperfect, active, subjunctive verb. And so, but why? Why do we have a subjunctive here? There's no ut clause, there's no indirect question, there's no indirect command, no ne clause. What is it? Well, this is called a potential subjunctive. It's where you're dealing with the hypothetical, the potential, You might have so not at all easily would you have been able to decide. Would you or might you have decided? It's called the potential subjunctive. In line 57, here we have, I'll start with has tantas, viri virtutes ingentia vitia aequabant, inhumana crudelitas, perfidia plusquam punica, nihil veri, nihil sancti, nullus deum metus, nullum jus jurandum, nulla religio. So we have here translation that his huge vices, ingentia vitia, were equaling these big virtues of the man. So the man's huge vices were equaling these great virtues. And here are the vices: an inhuman cruelty, deception that was more than was even common to the Phoenicians, nothing true, nothing sacred, no fear of God, no keeping of an oath, no religion. So the new features here that I want to point out is we have nihil veri. So what case is veri, and what case is sancti? Well, we have two genitives here: nihil veri, nihil sancti. Nothing of truth, nothing of holy, of the holy. And the way we would translate this is nothing true, nothing holy. So these are partitive genitives, partitive with neuter pronouns, nihil. And neuter pronouns like multum or plus and nihil will take a partitive genitive with them. The next new feature is in line 95. One more page. And here in 95 we have qui cum legatis in senatum introductis de republica retulissent placuissetque mitti legatos in Hispaniam ad res sociorum inspiciendas quibus videretur digna causa et Hannibali denuntiarent ut ab Saguntinis sociis populi Romani abstineret. So the phrase here that I want to point out is we have cum, qui cum, and they when with legates, with the ambassadors brought into the Senate, when they had, and we have retulissent, when they had referred the matter about the state to the Senate. So de re, in the margin you see that de re referre, to refer about a matter or refer about something, and often ad senatum would be left out, is to referre rem ad senatum, to bring a matter to the Senate. So when you see retulissent in the context of the Senate, it is they had brought this issue up to the Senate. So, and they, when, after the ambassadors were brought into the Senate, had brought that issue to the Senate, retulissent, the matter about the state to the Senate. And it had pleased them that legates be sent into Spain to take a look at the situation of the Allies, if there were some kind of a cause, a worthy cause for them, and to announce to Hannibal that he should leave them alone, leave the Saguntini alone, because they were allies of the Roman people. So, anyway, the phrase here, cum de republica retulissent, means after they had referred this issue concerning the state to the Senate, from referre, which means referre ad senatum. In line 101, we have the next new feature. Oh, went too far. And so here we have relata, and that's right here. So, tunc relata de integro res ad senatum est. So then, the issue, res here just being issue or the matter, then the issue was brought to the Senate de integro again. So here we see that same form again, relata from referre. And remember the so what are the person, number, tense, voice, and mood of relata? Relata. Well, relata here is it goes with relata est, was referred to the Senate, It's third person singular, perfect, passive, indicative. Relata est. And it's feminine because it's going with res. The matter was referred to the Senate. And what are the principal parts of relata? Well, relata is from re, ferre. So you would have refero, I refer, referre, to refer, retulisse, to have referred, and then relatum esse, to have been referred. The next new feature is in line 102, and so we have alei terra marique rem gerendam quinsebant alei non temere movendam rem tantam expectandosque ex Hispania legatos. So some people were thinking, quinsebant, that this issue or this matter, gerendam, this matter needed to be carried out on land and on sea. So what part of speech is gerendam here? Well, and what case is it and why? So gerendam is a future passive participle. The matter needing to be carried out. So it's passive, it's future, and it's called, the common name for that, which you know is a gerundive, needing to be carried out. Gerendam is in the accusative case in an accusative plus infinitive construction. They thought that the matter needed to be waged or needed to be carried out. And the next feature is in line 167. One more page. So here we are at 167, and we have Hannibal, quia fessem militem proeleis operibusque habebat, paucorum et dierum quietum dedit. So we have that Hannibal, because he had fessem militem, a tired soldier, a soldier tired out from the proeleis, from the battles and from all the heavy labor, the operibus, the works. He gave him quiet or rest. He gave rest to them of a few days. He gave a rest of a few days to them. So what's interesting here is what are the case number and gender of militem? Well, it's accusative singular and masculine. Accusative singular masculine. It's singular in a context when you'd expect a plural. So this is just a poetic way, or a collective singular saying. So we would translate this as because he had fessos milites, because he had tired soldiers tired out from the battles and from their hard labor, from their works. Called a collective singular, militem. Let's look at line 242. And we'll see our newest feature in 242. So here we are at 242, and we have quinsebam. So we'll start here with ego. Ego non privato publicone concilio saguntamo pugnatum sit, quaerendum quinsebam, sed utrum iure an injuria. So the translation here, I would think, or I should think that it shouldn't be asked whether it was by a private decision or a public decision that Saguntum was attacked, but rather whether it was done justly or because of some injury. So here the new feature is what are the person number, tense, voice, and mood of Pensvm? Person number, tense, voice, and mood of Pensvm. Well, it's a first person, singular, present, active, subjunctive. Why subjunctive here? It is subjunctive because it is in a it's a potential subjunctive. I might think, or I should think, or I would think that it needs to be sought. Notice there's nothing else indicating that there should be a subjunctive here. This is the potential subjunctive stands alone in its clause with no ut, no ne, nothing else introducing it. The best way to translate potential subjunctives is with the words helping verb might, I might think, or should or would, I should think or I would think. Okay, let's go to the next new feature, which is in line 280. And here we have Hannibal quod agri est inter cortonam urbem trasum menumque lacum omni clade belli pervastat. So we have Hannibal laid to waste that part of the field which is between Cortona, the city of Cortona, and Lake Trasaminas, with every kind of destruction or misfortune of war. He laid it to waste. So the new feature here is what is the case of agri here and why? Well, agri is a genitive, a partitive genitive with the neuter pronoun quod. Hannibal laid to waste that part, that which was of the field. That of the field, literally. Hannibal laid to waste that of the field. We would translate it as that field. Laid to waste that field which is between Cortona and on Lake Trasaminas. In line 284, we have our next new feature. I'm going to go back. Bottom of this page, we have via tantum interest per angusta, deinde Paulo latior patescet campus, inde and etc. So we have the only road, or only a per angusta via, only a very narrow road is between those places, or lies between. So per angusta, what are the case number and gender of per angusta? Per angusta is nominative singular feminine with via. It's a via per angusta. And what does the prefix per do to this word angusta? Per is an intensifying prefix, and it means valde angusta, very narrow. So per, when you have it with as a prefix, means very much. Only a very narrow road, via per angusta, is between there. And then we've got in line 294 a new feature, and that is we'll start with, I'm going to get to hostium here, so we'll just do the whole phrase here. Flaminius cum predie soles occasu ad lacum pervenis set, inexplorato postero die vixtum satis certa luce angustiis superatis, postquam in patentiorem campum pandiagmen coipet, id tantum hostium quod ex adverso erat conspexit, obtergo ac super caput decepera insidiae. So Flaminius, when he had arrived at the lake on the day before, at the setting of the sun, with the day, not in a very careful way, or without having spied things out very well, on the next day, barely with there being very much clear light, and with the after he had climbed or had overcome the narrow spot, or had gotten past the narrows, after he began to after the battle line began to be spread out into the more open field, he saw conspexit only that part hostium of the enemy which was in front of him, quod ex adverso erat. The insidiae, the ambushes behind him and above his head, were deceiving him, or were hidden from him. So here the new feature, what are the case number and gender of hostium? Hostium from hostis is the genitive, so that, only that of the enemies, literally. But we'll translate that as only that enemy which was in front of him. So partitives with neuter pronouns, very common. Id hostium, that part of the enemy, that enemy. The next new feature is in line 365. Next page. So here we have in line 365, we have cerneres. Start with inde. Inde varios vultus degredientium abnuntiis cerneres, ut quique laeta aut tristia nuntiabantur, gratulantesque aut consolantes redeuntibus domos circumfusos. So we have the thence. Thence you might have been able to pick out, or you might have been able to discern or perceive. Thence you might have perceived the different appearances of those people leaving from the heralds. So what are the person, number, tense, voice, and mood of cerneres? Well, it's second person singular, imperfect active subjunctive, cerneres. What kind of subjunctive is this? Why is this subjunctive? It's another example of a potential subjunctive, showing what you might have seen, not what you did see, but you might have seen the different appearances of those people who are leaving from the heralds, or the announcers. In line 419, the next new feature. And here we have, we're looking at poenum. Consules satis exploratis itineribus sequentes poenum, ut ventum ad canas est et in conspectu poenum habebant, bina castra communiunt. So we have the consuls following the Phoenician, with the pathways, or all the roads, having been spied out well enough. As there was an arrival at Cannae, and they had the Phoenician in their sight, they fortified a couple camps. So the new features here, we have, first of all, poenum, following the Phoenician. What's unusual about this, as we would expect to have poinos, we'd expect the Phoenicians, the consuls following the Phoenicians. And this is another example, like we saw before, of militem. This is an example of a collective singular noun. In this same section, we also have bina castra. What kind of a number is bina? and when is it used? Well, bina is a distributive number. Distributive numbers are used to show that a number belongs to several members of a group. And with nouns that are only found in the plural, like castra, the distributive rather than the cardinal number is always used. So you won't see, or rarely would see, duo castra, 2 camps. Instead you see bina castra, 2 camps. Now, how would you count from 1 camp to 10 camps in Latin if you had to use distributive numbers? Well, 1 camp to 10 camps with distributive numbers would be singula castra, bina castra, terna castra, quaterna castra, quina castra, sena castra, septena castra, octona castra, novena castra, and dena castra. Our next new feature is at line 496. And here we have virium. So we'll start here at Luci aemili. Luci aemili inquit, quem unum in sontem culpae clades hodiernae Dei respicere debent, cape hunc equum, dum et tibi virium aliquid superest, et comes ego te tolera possum ac protegere. So this is Gnaeus Lentulus, the tribune of the soldiers, yells out to Lucius Aemilius, the consul. He says, Lucius Aemilius, you, the one man whom innocent of today's misfortune and destruction, innocent of blame of today's misfortune, the gods ought to respect. Seize this horse, grab hold of this horse while there is something of strength to you, and while as a companion I am able to carry you away and to protect you. So here, what is the case number and gender of virium? The case number and gender of virium is a partitive genitive, and so genitive plural, feminine. So feminine genitive plural from the noun vis, which means force, and the plural vires, which means strength. So here we have the partitive with something, the neuter pronoun something of strength. Or we would just say, while there is some strength, while you still have some strength. How would you decline the noun vis, meaning strength? Well, vis in the singular is vis, vim, vis, we. And the plural, which means strength, is vires, virium, viribus. So here we see the genitive plural of that, virium, some strength. The next new feature is in line 532. And one more page. Here we are. So this is Maharbal telling Hannibal that they should not stop and rest. They should immediately march on the Roman capital. And he says, Sequira, follow me, cum equite ut prius venisse quam venturum sciant praecedam. So he says, with a knight, so that they might know that before you have come, so that they may know that you have arrived even before they know that you're about to come, I will proceed. So I will go in front of you, praekedam, with a knight. So what are the case number and gender of equite? It is a singular masculine ablative noun. Why singular? Why with a knight? Well, this is the exact same situation we had before with militem and with poenum, where we have a singular standing in place of a plural. So with the knights, basically with the cavalry, I will go ahead so that they might know that you have arrived there in Rome before they know that you're about to come. So basically we're going to surprise them. And the next new feature is in line 544, same page. Here we have spola is ad multum diei lectis, Hannibal ad minora ducit castra pugnanda, et omnium primum a flumine eos excluded. So we have with spoils having been gathered or collected, literally too much of the day, or until late in the day. Too much of the day. What are the case number and gender of diei? The case of diei is genitive. Diei, of the day. It is with another neuter pronoun, multum, much of the day, or till late. This is a figure of speech, meaning till late in the day. So with the spoils gathered till late in the day, Hannibal led an attack, or marched out to attack the smaller camp. And first of all things, he cut them off from the river. A flumine eos excluded. The next new feature is in line 607. So here we have, let's start with nequid. Nequid et die seriae rei gereret. So these are the leaders of Campania, the leaders of Capua, who are begging or praying to Hannibal that he not carry out gereret, quid, anything, quid, the shortened form of aliquid, after ne, nisi numen ne, or after nisi numen ne you get quid without the ali. All the alis go away. After si nisi numen ne, all the alis go away. That's the phrase. So that he not carry out anything on that day, seriae rei, of a serious matter. Figuratively, that he not do anything serious that day, that he just take a break. What case is seriae rei? It is another partitive genitive. Where is our neuter pronoun here? It's quid. That he not carry out quid, anything, aliquid, of a serious matter, seriae rei, on that day. The next new feature is in line 610. And that is, on the next day, the Senate, a crowded Senate was given to Hannibal, wherein his first speech was very ingratiating, very flattering, per blanda, and kind, benigna. So we have here per blanda. We saw before we saw per angusta, very narrow. Now we have per blanda, very flattering, very ingratiating. Per, that intensive prefix that means valde blanda. The next new feature is in 648. And here we have Tumhano respondeam inquit himilconi non dese isse painatera me belli nequam deseturum ante in victum vestrum imperatorem incusare quam finitum aliquad tolerabili condicione bellum videro. So here we have, then Hanno said, I should respond, or I might respond, or I would respond. I might reply to Himilco that it has not ceased to repent me of this war. In other words, I have not ceased to be to not want this war. I have not ceased to repent of this war, and that I will not stop blaming your unconquered victim emperor, your unconquered general, before I see, videro, an end of the war, before I see this war ended with some kind of an acceptable treaty or some kind of acceptable condition. So here the new feature is in respondeam, the very first word of the quotation. Respondeam, what are the person, number, tense, voice, and mood of respondeam? It is first person singular, present active, subjunctive. Why subjunctive? It's another example of a potential subjunctive, making a guarded statement. I might reply to Himilco, if he would allow me to, rather than being more straightforward and saying like respondeo. I respond to Himilco. The next new feature is in line 665. And here we have Welim. I've got to go back one more page. So we have, I guess we'll just start down here at et ne omnia ipse mirer mihi quoque enim quoniam respondi Himilconi interrogare ius fasque est velem seu Himilco seu mago respondeat. So that I don't myself just wonder about these things, I wonder about all these things, omnia. For to me it's also ius fasque, it is also right and proper to ask a question, since I have responded to Himilco, quoniam respondi Himilconi. Here's what he's going to say. I would like, velim, I would like that either Himilco or Mago would respond. I would like for them to respond. What are the person, number, tense, voice, and mood of velim? And why is it in this mood? Velim is first person singular, present active subjunctive from volo. Volo. And why subjunctive? It's another example of potential subjunctive. I would like to hear this. Velim. I would like to hear Himilco or Mago respond. The next new feature is in line 669. And then we have cum utrumque mago negasset hostium quidem ergo inquit ad hoc nimis multum super est. So when Mago had denied both of these things, utrumque, then Himilco said, therefore, indeed, there is still nimis multum hostium. There's still too much of the enemy remaining. There is still too much. So, sorry, this is Hanno speaking here. Hanno says, so when Mago had denied both of these things, then Hanno said, therefore, indeed, there's still too much of the enemy remaining. So what are the case, number, and gender of hostium? Masculine genitive plural. Why genitive? It is a partitive genitive with nimbus multum. Too much of the enemy. Too many of the enemy are remaining. Line 670 has the next new feature. It said multitudo ea quid animorum quidve spei habeat scira velem. And so here we have that same potential subjunctive again with velem. I would like to know what kind of courage, what kind of spirits, quid animorum, or what kind of hope, quidve spei, that multitude has. Multitudo ea habeat. So the new, with the animorum and spei, what are the case number, or what is the case of animorum, and what is the case of spei, and why? Both of these, animorum and spei, are genitives, partitive genitives. What are with the neuter pronouns? Neuter pronoun here being quid. I would like to know what spirits, what hope, what of spirit, what of hopes, what of spirits, what of hope. In line 679, we have another new feature. And here we have a senatus consultum. So start with itaque. Itaque ingenti consensu fit senatus consultum ut Hannibali quatuor milia numidarum in supplementum mitterentur et quadraginta elephanti et argenti talenta quingenta. So by a huge consensus, a senatus consultum, a decree of the Senate is made that 4,000 Numidians be sent as an aid to Hannibal, and 40 elephants, and 500 talents of silver. So what is a senatus consultum? A senatus consultum, consulti neuter, literally is a decree, a consultum, senatus, of the Senate, senatus genitive, senatus consultum. So if we were going to decline this phrase, we would only decline the consultum part, which would decline like oppidum, and keep senatus the same. So we would have senatus consultum, senatus consultum, senatus consulti, senatus consulto, senatus consulto. And the plural, if we had decrees of the Senate, senatus consulta, senatus consulta, senatus consultorum, senatus consultis, senatus consultis. The last new feature in this chapter is in line 779. If I can get to 779. One more page. Okay, and here we have rei. So nihil ultra rei in Italia ab Hannibale gestum. So nothing more was waged or was carried out by Hannibal in Italy. What case is rei? Well, rei is genitive singular with the neuter pronoun nihil. It's another example of a partitive genitive. Nothing of the matter, nothing of the thing more was waged by Hannibal in Italy. So you see in the margin that nihil rei, nothing of the matter, is the same as saying nulla res, no matter, or simply nihil on its own, nothing. So those are the new grammar and syntax features of chapter 48. When you've finished filling out your Pensvm worksheet, then you should be ready to take the chapter test. Bonam fortuna.